After grading your Unit 1 test, one area of weakness is absolute value inequalities, so we're going to spend a little time helping you improve these skills. Here are the two simplest cases you'll encounter. The absolute value of x is less than, or let's make this equal to 4, or the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 4. So this is saying the distance a number is from 0 is less than or equal to 4 units away. So 4 is 4 units from 0, so is 3, 2, and 1, and all these decimals in between. So this region, as well as on the other side of 0, would include 1, 2, 3, and negative 4 are less than or equal to 4 units away. This should look like an AND statement to you, meaning x is the region shaded in between negative 4 and 4. It is written like this with its solution set. Negative 4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to positive 4. Another area of problems I'm noticing is with these two symbols I'm just underlining. They had better always be written as less than or equal to. If you ever put a greater than or equal to sign, I don't even have to look at any part of the problem to know that you're incorrect. I'll highlight that more in a second. On the one on the right, this is stating that the absolute value of a number is more than 4 units, or the distance from 0 is greater than or equal to 4. So if I think about what numbers are more than 4 units away, well, that would be like 5, 6, 7, 8. So I end up shading outward. Or more than 4 units away on the left would be this direction. This should look like an OR to you, where I'm saying that x is less than or equal to negative 4, or it's bigger, or x is greater than or equal to positive 4. So there's two major cases here. You look at your sign if the absolute value is on the left. If it's less than, we write it like this. If it's greater than, we write it as an OR, two separate statements. Here's the major difference between and ORs and how to identify them. So first of all, you always put your absolute value on the left, and then you look at the symbol. If there's a less than or equal to, this is an and. The mnemonic trick I taught you was less than. Whereas over here, if there's a greater than symbol or a greater than or equal to, it's an or. So I taught you the mnemonic device greater to help you remember. Let's look at how to set up an and. So an and is always rewritten between, because it's nested between two values, and the two values you're going to use are 5 and negative 5. What symbols will you always use? Well, you're ranking from least to greatest, so you will always use less than or equal to. This is your setup. Whereas an or, you write this as two separate statements with the word or in between. The x plus 1 part never changes, and I'll keep one of them exactly the same without the absolute value signs. The one on the left is x plus 1, and two things happen. Your sign flips, and it switches to negative 5. Which of the following shows the correct setup for the absolute value of x minus 4 is less than 11? Hopefully you have ruled out this one here because the symbols are crazy, okay? They have to be ranked less than when you rank from least to greatest, which means it's got to be B. Right here, these symbols are crazy again. And it's definitely not an OR, so it's not D. B is the correct choice. Let's solve and graph this first one. So what I always do is rewrite it so the absolute value is on the left. So as I do this, I need to be sure I flip the direction of the inequality symbol as I rewrite this entire statement. Next, I need to isolate my absolute value expression. So I'm going to get rid of the coefficient of 2 by dividing both sides by 2, which produces the absolute value of x minus 3 is less than 7. Now that it's isolated, I need to make the decision if this is an and or an or. Hopefully you can read the symbol out loud and can say less than or less than. Please, if you emphasize this second part, it's a good mnemonic device. So ands get written so that x minus 3 is in the middle. Always use less than symbols as you rank from least to greatest. Notice they are both less than. And then we have positive 7 on the right and negative 7 on the left. Now your goal is to solve and get x alone in the middle. So I am going to add 3 to all three sides since I'm working two inequalities at once. And this results in negative 4 is less than x, which is less than 10. This is my solution. I do want to point out in Get More Math that where you break it into from absolute value into a compound inequality as an and statement, this is known as your setup. So if you ever ask for the setup, that's what you type. This one here in the blue box is your solution. And then finally, you need to graph it. So your graph would have negative 4 on your number line and 10. And let me just fix that. 10. You would have an open circle on each, and you're shading the region in between. So I go to solve the second one. Just want to point out one of the common mistakes that kids immediately make is they look at the symbol and they're like, oh, less than or equal to, so this is an and. Well, that would be your first mistake if you don't recognize to first isolate the absolute value expression. So to do this, I'm going to begin by dividing both sides by negative 5. 5, I'm going to end up flipping my sign, so I'm immediately going to do that so I don't forget about it. My negative 5's cancel, and I still have the absolute value of 2 minus 3x is greater than or equal to 7. Now is where I'm going to decide if I have an and or an or since this is isolated. So how do I tell? Well, I go to my symbol and I read it out loud. This is greater than or equal to. So what do? This is an or. I can immediately write that, and I kind of stretch out my absolute value symbol into these two arrows. I rewrite one of my expressions, 2 minus 3x, without the absolute value symbols and keep everything else the same. The other one, 2 minus 3x, that part never changes. What changes is my sign flips to less than or equal to, and it becomes negative 7. Now that I have my setup, notice again that there's no absolute value symbols. This is known as the setup on Get More Math. What do? I just go and solve each of these. So I'm going to subtract 2 from each side, which gives me negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 9. Divide by negative 3, and I get x is greater than or equal to positive 3. Why greater than or equal to? I got to flip my sign because I again divided by a negative. Make this or. I'm going to subtract 2 from each side, gives me negative 3x is greater than or equal to 5. Divide by negative 3, and I do flip my sign again because I'm dividing by a negative. It's less than or equal to negative 5/3. Now, this is my solution right here. What I sometimes do is, to me that just looks backwards. I like to rewrite it so x is less than or equal to negative 5/3. That's the smaller one. Or x is greater than or equal to positive 3 on the right would be even better. Then you go to graph this. It's ranked from least to greatest. 3 over here, and it would be a closed circle. I shade to the left for less than or equal to that value and greater than or equal to. So again, I'll Get More Math. This box is my solution, and this is my graph. Okay, you're going to work through this one. So think about what is your first step. Hopefully you knew to isolate the expression where you add 6 on both sides to get the absolute value of 3x plus 2 is less than 18. Okay, so is this an and or an or? Hopefully you recognize this as an and. So how are ands set up? Always nested in between using less than or equal to symbols. Isolate the part in the middle. So we're going to subtract 2. Gives me negative 20 is less than 3x, which is less than 16. Finish by dividing by 3, which gives me negative 20 thirds is less than x, which is less than 16 over 3. If you go to graph it, it's closed circle shaded in between. So now here's an opportunity to show me that you finally understand absolute value inequalities. This must be done today. You can gain up to 5 points back on your Unit 1 test by logging into Get More Math, and this is to be completed individually, now with the help of your friend. In the menu bar in the upper right-hand corner, click Exams and Follow-ups, and then select Unit 1 Test Extra Credit. There are 5 absolute value inequality questions in there that you can solve and graph or do whatever it tells you to earn up to 5 points back. All right, let's improve those test scores and show me now that you finally understand.